Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be taking a look at an article from The Hill written by John Bowden. Trump says pain from China tariffs will make U.S. much stronger. And I actually agree with him on this one, 100%. In the long run we will end up stronger as a nation. Okay? And the thing that gets me about this whole situation with China and trade with them and NAFTA and Canada and Mexico is we're supposed to, as Americans, sit here and allow ourselves to be exploited. And when we say, hey, wait a minute, now, I know I'm going to have libertarians probably chiming in the comments and that, saying, well, if you're not for free trade, you're not a libertarian. I believe in fair trade, okay? Because fair trade is a libertarian ideal. All right? I've tried to explain it to these libertarians that would chime in like that, but they don't seem to grasp the simple fact of you're a libertarian and you don't feel that you have a right to make the best deal for yourself. That's the whole point of libertarianism. Okay? It's the idea of capitalism, that you should be able to negotiate the best deal for you or what's in your best interest. How is it any different for a nation to do the same thing? To make a, whether through an agreement, or like if it was actual fair trade, okay, where it was like everyone's making, everyone's get something positive out of it, that's one thing. If you have true free trade between equals, where everything's open, that's one thing. But when you have a nation that you can exploit like Mexico, it's not a fair deal. So you have to look at the fact of what's fair. And when it comes to China, when it comes to Canada, Mexico, all the nations in the EU, they're screwing over the United States. They have tariffs on pretty much all the American goods that we have left to manufacture, that we have left here manufacturing-wise, okay? That are produced here in the USA and exported. They all pretty much have tariffs on those goods. Yet, we're not allowed or supposed to be able to put tariffs on ours. And the thing is China has shit tons of tariffs against American goods. So that an American company has two choices. They either bring themselves into China and then hand over all their intellectual property, or they don't sell in China. How is that fair trade? That's part of what screwed us over. This is stuff that Clinton allowed to happen when he set up the quote-unquote trade agreements, which were illegal treaties that were never ratified by Congress, because they were treaties. But, because if you call it a treaty, a trade agreement, you can try to slip it by the dumbed-down Americans. And that's exactly what they did. And Clinton set this up. So, China, and which, at that time, I mean, hell, even Saturday Night Live, when they weren't afraid to talk about the Clintons, with Norm Macdonald on the desk, I suggest you go look on Google for it. Norm Macdonald, Clinton, China, something like that in YouTube or Google should bring you the video up. But, yeah, even Saturday Night Live was going on about the corruption with China and the Clintons back then. And here's China getting handed all this stuff on a silver platter, and Americans are getting shafted with that. Americans got shafted with NAFTA, okay? And now it's time to straighten things out. And that's what this situation is about, okay? Because if you have China in a situation where they've now been exploiting, U.S. markets, they've exploited the fact of U.S. corporations being able to ship stuff there because of Clinton, and then them making off of the deal, with the corruption and having state ownership, and members of the CCP have to be in a company in order to kind of basically be able to do business. I mean, yeah. So on all levels, except for like the actual masses there, China has made off like a bandit. Well, we're getting screwed. So hey, let's straighten that out. And oh no, the sky is falling. I mean, that's what we would come down to. President Trump says in a new interview that tariffs targeting China over intellectual property theft could cause some pain in the U.S. economy, but promised that America would emerge stronger as a result. And he's completely right. Because what's going to end up happening is China's not going to have their cheap R&D to copy and make stuff cheaper. They're not going to have the business opportunities, okay, that they would. It'll hurt them more than it will hurt us, because we have more than manufacturing to fall back on, and that's going to give us a buffer to get back into manufacturing, because we have service-based economies and tech and things like that to help us along while we get our manufacturing geared back up. China really doesn't necessarily have that. They have tech, but their tech relies on copying Western technology. I'm not saying there's not going to be any pain, Trump said Friday in an interview with Bernie and said in the morning on 77 WABC in New York City. He also acknowledged the initial reaction from markets is likely to be negative, which is true. Okay? Both of those things are true. There is going to be pain. We're going to feel something initially. I mean, one of the things that also helps us on this note that I should bring up is our energy independence. Because of us being energy independent now, okay, with things like fracking and tar sands, tar sands oil refinement and that. We can even sell that, energy. We can sell that energy to make up, on that note of manufacturing and giving us a runway to get it geared up and going. So, I mean, we have options. China, not so much. They could lose a little bit, he said. True. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures plummeted on Thursday after news broke that Trump has asked officials in the administration to prepare tariffs on another $100 billion of imports from China, escalating a fight with Beijing. And to me, that's actually kind of funny that futures are going to plummet like that. That doesn't make sense to me, because it's not going to screw the country over in the long term. If you've got these short seller types, the quick flippers, okay, but this shouldn't have any long-term effect. It's more scare tactics, I think, because who's to say that this wasn't futures owned by, Wall Street banking firms and such, and they're looking to manipulate the futures exchange and with that the economy. Futures on the index fell 222 points, suggesting the market would open down 271.22 points on Friday, CNBC reported. A relatively poor job report released Friday that found the nation added 103,000 jobs in March is also likely to push markets lower, but Trump said he was not worried about a negative reaction from his move on trade. Now, the funny thing is we're almost at a point where we could officially declare, no unemployment with how low it is. And they're trying to, oh yeah, only 103,000 jobs were created. Unemployment is at an all-time low. So 103,000 jobs are created. Big whoop. Almost everyone's working, okay? And this is the lowest unemployment has been with blacks, and especially black men and other minorities, for the longest time. People are working. So we're going to have more jobs created than what we have a supply for? Is that what we're going to have happen? I mean, that would be good because then wages go up and everything else. But I mean, you're trying to make it sound negative that when we have such low unemployment, one particular month, only 103,000 jobs were added. Okay. We're going to be much stronger for it, he added later in the interview. China has responded to the latest round of tariff plans with a statement threatening an all-out trade war. China knows they're fucked. They know they are tattooed and screwed. And without any Vaseline, because the United States, we still have the infrastructure. On the note of manufacturing facilities, the ability to transport goods, so on and so forth, available. Some of it, has had some deterioration, we'll say, because of sitting there. But some patching up, gearing up, and boom, we're back in business. We have facilities that are just sitting there waiting to manufacture. Okay, we have huge manufacturing plants that they may have filled up, of the space, small sections of it, but there's still huge sections of these buildings just sitting there, unused, because, big corporations, okay, like Ma Bell, AT&T, all right, they had a lot of manufacturing facilities. One of their largest ones, okay, was in Massachusetts, and it was one of the last ones around, even under the name Lucent, okay, and in this area of New England, I mean, and these buildings are still there, okay, all right, like, digital equipment, which then became Compaq, they had multiple manufacturing facilities between New Hampshire and Massachusetts. A lot of them are still not filled, but they've got sections of them filled. Okay, you've got manufacturing facilities in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. You have manufacturing facilities in Boston. I'm just talking in New England here, just my neck of the woods. That are Manchester, New Hampshire. Okay, Lawrence, Lowell. You have all these huge mill buildings that could be, used for manufacturing. Now, they were used for manufacturing for a century or more in New England. They're not full, and they're maintained to an extent. With a lot of them fully. But you have these properties that are set up that are, say, next to rail lines, that are next to highways, next to waterways, that throughout the country, that are ready to be used. So China wants to make threats. We just need a little gear up time, and we have a diversified economy that would allow for this. I love this. We do not want to fight, but we are not afraid to fight a trade war, China's foreign ministry said in a statement. No, you are afraid of a trade war, because you're going to get your ass kicked and your intellectual property gravy train is going to stop. Earlier in the week, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said the president wasn't worried about the recent market volatility and was instead concerned about countries that have been taking advantage of us for decades. Yeah, that's more of an actual concern. then some market volatility, because, when you're getting porked for decades, that's a lot, and they're taking that money from you, that adds up. Way more than what you might lose in a little volatility in the market. We may have a little bit of a short-term pain, but we're going to have a long-term success, she told reporters. Yeah. And that's very true. See, the whole narrative of the left and the globalists and the cultural Marxists of open borders, free trade. Well, not actual free trade, but free trade on the note of everything's free on the note of the U.S. Okay, but and come into play here, but it costs us on the way out, over there with them. The whole point behind that and the doom and gloom that they're trying to push, okay, is to scare people to keep their agendas on track, to keep what they want to happen on track, to keep what they want happening. And they're now starting to see that they don't have it in the bag like they thought they did. So they're getting scared. Trump is willing to play hardball with China when a lot of these politicians, like the Clintons in the 90s, okay, who helped them get all the shit that they got during his presidency, the other politicians that are involved with this, basically what's going on here, all right, is they're trying to protect the people who've got them in their pockets. They want to continue their gravy train. And when you're trying to push globalism, all right, a weak United States is something that you need. Because when the United States is doing well, when a country is doing well, the people are doing well, they feel it lends towards them feeling like they're more of a cohesive group. If everyone's doing well, and they got, no bullshit in their lives going on, they're not stressing about money, they're not worrying about that type of stuff, things are good. It's, everyone is comfortable in their lives. And I'm not talking because of, equality of outcome. I'm talking, equality of opportunity. But when you have a majority of people that, in an equality of opportunity society, okay, have the tools to succeed, do succeed, there's a cohesion that happens between those people. And you have this, we are this one strong group type of mentality. And that's basically nationalism going on. And they don't want that. Because a nationalistic United States, if you look at history, even though we've been nationalistic and we've, as a nation, done things in our nation's interests, in a lot of cases, overall, they were for the greater good. And that greater good wasn't what these people who are pushing these ideologies and beliefs and want, the cultural Marxism, they want the globalism. When they see that the United States is capable of doing the things that it has done, it scares them. And the reason why we've been able to do that is because we've been a cohesive group. We've been a group that's had a focus and a determination to say, okay, democracy is good. Free speech is good. Okay, the idea of democratic representation, whether it's a democratic republic or an actual democracy, people having a say is a good thing. And we've promoted this throughout the world. Okay? It wasn't Great Britain. It wasn't any other, Western nation that brought democracy around the world, okay? It was the United States for the most part, okay? Because once we broke away and the British Empire was starting to show its, age and everything else, and because they weren't bringing democracy to a large part of their empire, you had colonial governors who were running the show. It was the United States who went in and said, okay, after World War II, said, okay, yeah, democracy here. We did this in Central American and South American countries. So, the fact of a nation doing something like that as a cohesive group goes against everything they're trying to do, everything they're trying to get people to buy into, and is probably the best way to counter all of it. So that's why they don't want it. And if we actually stop being exploited and people start feeling that way again, they've lost even more ground, and they don't want that. So, short term, yeah, we're going to get hurt a little bit. Long term, we're going to be a lot better off, because not only economically we're going to be better off, we're going to be better off as a nation. We'll probably see more cohesion, because people will stop looking for stupid shit to get upset over someone else. Because if people are able to succeed, and more people do succeed, you have a lot harder time pushing equality of outcome. You really do. You have a lot harder time pushing cultural Marxist bullshit. So, give it time. Mark my words. It's going to be a good thing in the long term. Anyway, I think I've covered this well enough, and I'm just going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.